Today's video is sponsored by Racoon. Imagine a place in your city or town that wasn't your home where you could feel the safest in the event of an emergency. For most, a police station or precinct would be the obvious choice, but in Raccoon City, that would be a fatal error. From the dead already roaming the halls to the...
Now here's a weird fucking door. Leave it.
And a puzzle that honestly makes no sense at all if you just stop and think about it for just 1 second. Today, we aren't just playing a game, we're performing a biological deep dive on one of gaming's most beloved art museums turned police station. Not that there's a lot of them, mind you, but it was so threatening and iconic that it was copy-pasted into the entity's realm of Dead by Daylight, as well as the threats that dwell within you might encounter in these halls. As today, we are discussing why you wouldn't survive a Resident Evil RPD zombie attack. While staying alive in RPD is probably not possible, what is possible is snagging a great gift for your madre thanks to today's sponsor, Racoon. We all have a mom that we love in our lives. I'm lucky to have many moms that I love. My own lovely mom, a nice stepmom, a really awesome grandma who has a soft spot for turtles, and my beautiful girlfriend. With Mother's Day coming up, if your mom likes to stay active or is just busy with all the stuff that moms do, Racoon's bone conduction headphones are a fantastic gift. I love using them just about anywhere I go, whether it be at the zoo, the gym, the park, or at work, and not worrying about hearing things I need to hear, but having enough music blasting to jam out wherever I am. They sit just outside the ears, so I, or my beautiful girlfriend, can listen to music or podcast while still hearing what's happening around us. They're great for walks, workouts, or just getting outside and moving during the day. My girlfriend loved hers for Mother's Day as she still gets clear sound without feeling closed off from her surroundings, which is especially helpful if she's out walking or staying aware of what's going on around her. She can also hear any mischief that the kids or family may try to get into while they think mom is busy. They're lightweight, comfortable, and easy to wear, so they fit naturally into any routine. It's a great Mother's Day gift, and honestly, you might want to grab a matching pair for yourself too. Go to buyracon.com/wowsuchgamingbc or click the link on the description to get 15% off your bone conduction headphones. A perfect Mother's Day gift. My girlfriend loves using them while gardening, gaming, during workouts at the gym, while traveling, and most importantly, drowning out the noise of the men in her life. I basically don't ever see her not wearing them, but being able to still hear us just in case thanks to the patented bone conduction headphones sending sound through vibrations in your bones. Easy enough to stay aware of her surroundings while still jamming out to her entire playlist. With 13 hours of battery life, and IP68 waterproof and dustproof built in to keep her going all day without fear of messing up these no-slip wonders, all while being maximum comfort at only half the cost and double the quality of rival brands. And Racoon holds themselves to that with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So celebrate the moms in your life and get her the gift that keeps on giving. Again, click the link in the description box or go to buyracon.com/wowsuchgamingbc and enjoy the 15% off. Thanks to Racoon for sponsoring today's video. Before it was the iconic RPD, the building was in fact Raccoon City's prestigious art museum before being purchased by the city in 1969 by the local government and converted for use by the Raccoon City Police Department as its centralized location and for some reason ample parking space that I guess was just that important to the police department. Like, how small was their last apartment building that the parking space was a deciding factor for purchasing a whole damn building. Anyway, getting back on track, the building went through major changes to convert the once art spectator theater into a donut hunting ground fit for service in the early 1990s as part of the urban revitalization project led by Michael Warren, known as Bright Raccoon 21. The RPD would receive sizable donations for local businesses, notably from Umbrella Pharmaceuticals, so the department could address the rising crime rate and domestic security concerns of the city. As a result, the STARS Task Force was established, leading us into the events of the games. But I've already covered covered that in my previous Why You Wouldn't Survive on Resident Evil's T-Virus, so go check that out if you haven't seen it already. That was about 6 years ago. Actually, holy crap, 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Oh shit, I said that, didn't I? No, today we will be discussing just the RPD and how bad of a place it truly would be to try and hold out in the event of a zombie outbreak because of its unconventional design. Not made for the policing business, the RPD isn't your run-of-the-mill block building that most stations would be. Instead, it's cut into 3 sections. The main hall, a huge open room with the ceiling being at least 3 floors high, with balconies on floors 2 and 3 overlooking the front entrance, as well as the stairs that go up to the second floor, which admittedly sounds like a positive, which for the most part it would be, as with a group of people, if the undead start going bump in the night and breaking their way in, you could easily defend from the upper floors, keeping you safe from being torn apart. But that is where problems start to arise. While it's very easy to access the ground, and second floor getting to the third floor is going to require a lot of time and effort to get up to that state and to the balcony, because even though the RPD supposedly got major funding, the upper floors of the building are still run down and falling apart in places like the attic, which you need to traverse through in order to get to the library, in order to even get to the third floor balcony. This is an intricate maze that you have to get through, because that is brilliant architectural design right there. Not to mention the floor of the upper library that has literally fallen apart and requires you to move whole bookshelves in order to cross it to make it to the door on the other side. So I hope you've got the right tools for the job. And even if you get through all that, the view from up top is very limited to what you can actually see, as the balcony does not span the whole of the main hall. So minimum, you'd need to wait for the Zeds to make their way through the main hall, putting yourself and anyone else you are with at risk of succumbing to the numbers of the hordes. And worst still is the skylight, which could lead to even worse horrors than just the zombies making their way into the RPD. But we'll talk about them a bit later. Side note, before we get further into this script was written by my friend TK Shield, aka Munt Punt, after I was scammed by an AI bro on hiring a new writer. Fuck AI, by the way. I had to outsource this because I have such a hard time playing through Resident Evil. These puzzles piss me the hell off. Just describing how to get around the police station in this script has got me confused and irritated. So shout out to TK Munt Punt, thanks for helping bro, and fuck AI again, and screw you for scamming me. I'm not gonna name you, but if you're listening, screw you. Now moving on to the West Wing, seeing as we had to cross through it in order to get to the top floor, we might as well touch on its problematic design, because even though I'd argue the West Wing might be the safest all around, with a few rooms that even have reinforced doors, and 2 rooms in particular that have cages at the back designed to keep the weapons stored there safe from intruders looking to maliciously arm themselves, that being the safety deposit box room and the STARS office. Now, let's start with the safety deposit boxes. It's a small room opposite the West Wing offices. It has a reinforced door, lots of boxes full of stuff, and at the back of the room, a caged off area that is housing a shotgun or a grenade launcher, depending on who you are playing as in Resident Evil 2. Either Claire, who gets the GM79 grenade launcher, clearly being modeled after the M79 grenade launcher, or for Leon, the W870 shotgun, modeled after the Remington 870 Police Magnum, both of which being very effective tools for taking down the undead with relative ease. The GM79 really dealing huge single-shot damage with either flame rounds for setting things like zombies, lickers, and Mr. X himself on fire, or the acid rounds that are capable of making boss fights against Birkin's many forms a walk in the park, or sewer in this game's case. While the W870 is a shotgun capable of one-shotting any zombie close enough that you can smell the guts of the fellow officers they had for lunch just moments before. While having both of these powerhouse weapons is all well and good and said and done, unless you can obtain the key card for the locker, they will remain locked up and you'll have no way for accessing them, rendering them completely useless to you, and so now you are stuck in a small room with one entrance and exit, which isn't even that effective at keeping the dead at bay, as they can just bang on the door a bit and it will fly open, and this is not Dead by Daylight, so you don't got no god pallet that's going to be spawning to save your life. So this room, while looking ideal to hold out in reality is more of a coffin than a comfort. Now let's look at safe room at number 2, the STARS office. A much bigger room in scale to the former, while also providing ample furniture you could use to block the once again only entrance and exit to the room. And if your makeshift barricade fails you, you can always fall back to the STARS armory located in the far left side of the room. Again, being cage-like in design, this would be ideal for keeping the threat of the zombies at bay, but does come with its own drawbacks, being that the only way to seemingly open and close the cage door is to use the computer that's outside of the door, and yes, believe it or not, that is indeed what monitors looked like back in the day. You gotta remember this game takes place in 1998. This probably predates a lot of you watching, and even then I was only 6 years old, so even then I barely remember this. So the technology is primitive compared to today's tech. So in order to even use the computer, you would need to have access to the STARS badge USB drive to even be able to open and close the door, which is a minimum 2-person job, because it seems there is no way of opening and closing the door for the inside, which I guess makes sense, seeing as it's more of a mini vault holding another powerful weapon for our protagonists, that being the Lightning Hawk, modeled after a IMI Desert Eagle. The Hawk is a hand cannon with insane damage output, making short work of any zombie, and stunning Mr. X in 1 to 2 shots for Leon, and for Claire, the MQ-11, based on the Mac-11, an SMG not quite as strong as the Hawk, but arguably just as good at dealing with the infected, just not in the same way with its fast fire rate. It can easily dismember a zombie's legs, reducing their threat to basically 0 as long as they don't cock block you on the stairs. But in my opinion, not having a way to open or close from the inside is such an oversight of whoever designed the room, basically meaning if you could get locked in there by yourself, you'd have no way of getting back out, meaning if you get locked in there by yourself, unless by some miracle after the zombies lose interest and leave, and before you starve to death. You are being transported into the late 90s, so you don't have any of the technological marvels that you know now, and you're stuck with the computers that you use, but you can't even use the computers because they're on the other side of the wall. You would have to wait for a person that happens to wander by and is willing to let a person who's locked up that they've presumably never seen before and could have been locked up for any number of reasons. They could assume that you were infected and someone locked you in there to prevent you from coming out and biting others. Basically, your odds of getting out after getting trapped inside are slim to none, making it yet another bad place to try and hold out. Now that the positives are out of the way, let's go over the problems of the West Wing, starting with the lower west hallway, located at the funny enough west of the entrance of the RPD. The lower west hallways have clearly seen better days. Walking through, you can see obvious signs of damages caused by a for now unknown entity, looking more like a scene from Dino Crisis, which I should probably do its own Why You Wouldn't Survive at some point. We do see even more damage as whole windows are missing as you approach. Oh god. Zombies start to make their way in while others start breaking down the remaining few windows left. All you can do is run forward and hope it's not a dead end as their zombie hands are trying to grab you through the windows and pull you out to eat you alive. But you're trying to get through this maze-like building. Luckily for you, the door at the end of the corridor is open so you can go in to find that it's a dead end with the door being chained up. Lucky for you, again, there is an open window that's easily accessible by a desk under it and conveniently placed yellow tape showing you just where to go, because most game devs think players are so dumb that they just can't figure out the only option available to them. Making your way through the window leads you into even more corridors, giving you access to the safety deposit room we talked about earlier, the first floor west office, and a dark room for developing photos. Starting in the west office, you won't find much. This is where some of the officers did their paperwork, most likely like the beat cops, judging by the number of uniformed officers in and around the office that have been zombified. Not a very secure room, as part of the office was also clearly some kind of front desk where they'd talk to members of the public, and with seemingly no way to shut the windows off from the room, it would be very easy for the undead to break in, as well as the glass door on the other side of the room behind the front desk is the first of the many of these suit doors, like the suits seen on the deck of cards, or as Carlos puts it,
now here's a weird fucking door.
these doors can only be unlocked with the corresponding keys that match the suit on the door. these keys are scattered all across the RPD. So if you're being chased by a horde, good luck finding and opening them in time before being cornered. Moving on to the dark room, there isn't anything special about this room. Sure, in the game it's safe, but IRL, the undead won't respect save rooms and just leave you to save or develop photos in peace. Next to the dark room is another window for the infected to break their way through unless you board it up with the very conveniently placed boards right under the stairs. Speaking of which, let's head up the stairs to find problem number whatever we are on. And that's the shutter that seemingly has no way to open it. Unlike other shutters found throughout the station, this one doesn't have the little hand crank thing that the others do. So it's forever shut, making travel between the main hall and the West Wing's upper floor way more time consuming and draining on your resources to be, unless of course you have the spade key to unlock the library. This absolute shambolic room of books and shushing. For starters, if you don't have the key, it's technically yet another room with only one way in or out, being the side door that leads to the STARS office, which we've already spoken about, and past that you've got the men's locker room, more on that in a minute. So the library would be a last gasp effort of evading the geeks chasing you down. And sure, the library does have 2 more doors on the upper floor, but as stated earlier, if you don't have the, hand crank to move the bookshelves across, your only option is to funnel yourself and these roamers that are chasing you across the very narrow walkway and into the attic, which we might as well touch on seeing as there's not much to it. Another room just like the library, seemingly left to rot since the museum days, as for some reason there seems to be piles of what looks like dung from what kind of creatures, God knows. Maybe that's where Chief Irons kept the animals that he taxidermied. Now let's talk briefly about the men's locker room, which actually does a decent job connecting the STARS office and library with the rest of the West Wing rooms that are located downstairs, as the room has 2 doors on either side of the room, which would be your only way for accessing the areas on the second floor without the spade key. If only the pipe hadn't bust, preventing you from progressing with another tool, this time a wheel. Now, it is true there are a few more rooms on the west side, but you would need the suit keys to get into them, so it seems pretty redundant to go over rooms you wouldn't be about to get into. You aren't Leon S. Kennedy running around like a headless chicken. Trying to find 4 keys is a surefire way of getting yourself eaten alive by flesh-eating maggot sacks. But ahead is the worst side of the police station, the East Wing. Despite there being less going on in this wing, the rooms and hallways give their own unique death traps. The interrogation room, for one, being another room to find a key for you to be cornered in by the dead, with long hallways bottlenecking these undead to you with no escape. Only a staircase and a door to a conference room being easily blockaded by any of the threats coming your way. The conference room itself could be entered via 2 doors that can have rotters pouring in from both directions, serving up your brains on a silver platter and possibly broadcasting your death to the world with all the camera equipment strewn about. The East office offers a separate chain of events that could lead to your demise, one door being heavily locked up via chains with another via volumes of paperwork. You could easily get past some paper, unlike the badasses of RE, but that's Konami for you. Regardless, it comes pre-barricaded, or at least slightly, to slow any dead that may come at you. Nearby is that of Chief Iron's office and trophy room, what some would call probably the safest area in the entire building if you can find the damn key. Plenty of objects within here to blockade entryways to get your bearings and rest, but only for so long. It does have an avenue of escape in that of a personal elevator to get down to the underground parking lot. To the uninitiated, a parking lot seems like the primo way to get a car, hotwire it, and GTFO. But this requires an escapade of key retrieval that turned me off the game that I had to get TK to help me. He had to hammer home the key door situation to stress these points, having to find specific keys to each door being what would definitely get you killed, since a majority of the building will be blocked off to you without them, and you are not getting context clues, nor are you getting lucky that these keys haven't either been taken, swallowed by the dead, or even outright destroyed beyond repair. Hell, the hoops you'd have to go through even have you going into the morgue to get a key from an immobile corpse just for it to spring to life and jump scare you and potentially bite you, and then you would be screwed on the spot. Shit is nuts, and don't get us started on the goddamn medallion puzzles. The trophy room is of note to either hide in or stumble into, stocked with quite a collection of taxidermied animals, most likely adorned by Chief Irons himself. Most likely done by him, as seen when you play as the mayor's daughter Catherine Warren, who is nearly taxidermied herself by the chief, preferring the company of stiffs that he can make thanks to his years of working under the table under Umbrella. These taxidermied animals include a wolf, tiger, deers, raccoon, snapping turtle, bald eagle, ram, bison, fox, a grizzly bear, and even somehow a dodo, which, unless this man is nearly 300 years old, is impossible that he killed one himself, unless he stole this from the museum maybe. Be careful not to be crushed by any of these rigid fauna corpses, as the people that do the taxidermies attempt to retain the animal's weight. So imagine zombies knocking the grizzly bear over and you barely surviving being crushed by Yogi. The top side of the building has the art supply closet that has a liquor that will be awaiting your arrival as a jump scare, maybe showing that these evolved dead know that you're having to be a rat in this maze, waiting for you to try to get to the 64th piece of cheese to get out. These are the notable rooms and the keys and items necessary to escape, but then you have Claire and Leon playing an Easter egg hunt within the building trying to get medallions, maybe the most ass-backward puzzle in the franchise, which says a lot. In-game, it's not a very difficult puzzle on the surface. Find the 3 statues, put in the right combo that a cop named Elliot, who just so happens to work out and writes down before he's found by either Leon or Claire, and is promptly ripped in half in the most unmonetizable scene. After that half-off sale, you yoink the officer's notebook and set out to find the statues. But why do all this? Well, according to Elliot, the big statue in the center of the main hall is apparently a secret exit, like it's the Chamber of Secrets from Harry Potter. This tunnel was discovered by Officer Rita Phillips. All you gotta do up until this point is survive all this shit while finding these 3 MacGuffins. But you're now within a Resident Evil game. So one of the maiden statues is locked behind what looks like a jail cell in the attic, potentially sealed away with a bunch of ceiling high, whatever, I guess it's shit?
That is one big pile of shit.
I guess her charges are really set in stone. You'll have to blow up the cell, of course, to retrieve the item by using a bomb that's already in the attic. Why the hell is there an explosive device in this precinct's attic? I don't know, maybe there was a revenge plot by a former inmate, who knows. Good luck finding the detonator for it though, which that is a whole nother goose chase in of itself. So, let's lay this out. This entire repurposed dwelling of the RPD is designed to wear you down mentally and physically, forcing you to run around back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, second guessing yourself, trying to find everything you need, all while the dead numbers keep tallying up from the surrounding city, coming in, coming from below, mutating, turning into these unstoppable killing machines. You need to access the secret tunnel via the lobby, but this gauntlet needs to be successfully done in order. So all you need to do is A, know the codes for each statue without any clue of figuring them out yourself. B, make it to the library to get the unicorn medallion through the attic by finding a detonator to get beyond the bars, keeping the maiden statue locked away, and then get to the lion statue in the main hall. And C, use the tunnel to escape, which isn't even an escape route because it just leads back to the underground parking lot, so you have just risked life and limb running around all of the station for literally nothing. Sorry, let me calm down because it's not all doom and gloom. You can just escape through the parking garage, right? Wrong! The only way out of the garage is if you have an RPD parking pass, which you can't get because Chief Irons has stolen them all and put them in an undisclosed location. He should really be called Chief Steal, considering he has a habit of stealing not only property, but also people. The infamous RPD would end up leaving you FITA, whacked in the ass, with not only no chance of survival, but also no hope of escape either. And yes, I did skip over some rooms of the RPD, mainly the key rooms and all the filler, just going over some of the key highlights. Get it? Key? Most of the basement, because in all honesty, I don't think it would be possible for a normal, non-plot armored individual to ever hope of making it down there, so I don't personally see the point talking about it. Just trust me, bro. Instead, let's move on to the creatures of the night trying to end your game of life permanently. Now, let's begin with the classic, the old faithful, the run-of-the-mill zombie, except it's not run-of-the-mill. Unlike most traditional zombie media, those infected with the T-virus are just built different. For a deeper dive on them, check out my other Resident Evil video from 6-7 years ago. Damn it, I did it again. But they are way more durable than their dead brethren from other TV shows, movies, and games. While we are used to just popping them and one-shotting them in the head to dispatch them, Resident Evil said nuts to that and just said, what if that just made things worse? But the zombie's durability is not where its beginnings make for an unstoppable force against your survival, the transmission vector being the T-virus's greatest strength. Umbrella Security's Alpha team, led by the one and only Hunk, attacked and mortally wounded William Birkin within the sewers of Raccoon City, in the process damaging a vial of the T-virus during the attack, allowing the chemical to be consumed by rats and mutating them, as well as polluting the town's local water supply. Civilians drinking from this source and or being bitten by these rabid rats had led to this massive outbreak. Hundreds of people transforming in the streets and biting one another, meaning you will not be able to drink from the city's water supply while trying to survive to stay hydrated lest ye be infected. Raccoon City would be a quarantine zone consumed in a pandemic-ridden fire in mere days. Each person zombified will become unkillable by conventional methods, Deadeye, looking like your run-of-the-mill normal undead, and for the most part, they are slow, shambling, rotting corpses that, on their own, would not be much of a threat, but in a horde, you could be easily overrun. You could say that with a lot of zombies, especially seeing as these geeks don't go down so easily, needing not one, not two, not three, but a whopping 10 shots to put one down permanently. Now, admittedly, you can get lucky and pop them in the head to kill them much quicker and saving you a lot of ammo, but still, a zombie needing more than 1 to 2 shots to the head to take them down is absurd. It's way quicker and more ammo efficient to take out the legs and run by them COD Zombies end of round style, which is bizarre in retrospect to other zombie scenarios. Not just outright killing these zombie threats and just crippling them is preferable for your survival, meaning no matter what, unless you burn the dead, you are always leaving them to be a threat to bite or mutilate you in some degree. If you do end up killing them, it only gets worse, as stated before, with what is known as the liquor, resulting from a rare secondary metamorphosis of a zombie with the Epsilon strain of the T-virus. Developed in the Arclay laboratory, the first batch of liquors accidentally made was brought to Nest, the underground lab in the latter half of RE2, where they would be released by Birkin to try and cover his tracks after becoming paranoid that Umbrella was going to steal all of his research. Doing this caused the new strain to also get into the town's water, adding to the abomination genetic gene pool of pollutants. Zombies harboring the Epsilon strain that consumed large amounts of biomass by eating people and other living things would evolve into a liquor to sustain their metabolism. Iconic within the franchise, these zombevolutions are seen frequently throughout Biohazard's history, often hunting in packs, stalking plot-armored main characters, and brutalizing anyone else with its many striking features. Adorned with an exposed brain that's burst from the skull, basically consuming the top half of the head, lacking skin and eyes, making the creature completely blind, but elevating its sense of hearing to daredevil levels. Its mutated muscle and bone structure make it way more agile, topped with razor-sharp talons on both its hands and feet, giving it the terrifying ability to climb up walls and ceilings with ease. Its abilities allowing it to move frighteningly fast across any vertical or horizontal surface, meaning the confined and open spaces of RPD would only work to its advantage with your demise. Making any noise would clue it into your exact location, much like that of A Quiet Place's Death Angels. Accidentally stepping on glass, or even just breathing a little too loud after you get exhausted, or like how I'm trying to talk and I'm saying too many words and I'm just kind of losing breath, will see you torn apart in seconds, using its huge talons or even its titular, enormous barbed tongue, capable of piercing flesh and decapitating you in seconds flat. Next on the RE Bros roster of mutants trying and probably succeeding to kill you is Mr. X himself, or the first of the T-103 series, T-00, a biological superweapon of Umbrella's cloning origin. This aptly titled Tyrant, or Mr. X, is a relentless beefcake of a stalker, following you throughout the RPD in a weirdly nonchalant manner, walking through the halls, stomping loudly, echoing through the tombs of this archaic building, filling you with dread as his giant footsteps get louder and louder until boom! He slams the door open as he has to duck on through due to him being 8 feet tall, or 2.43 meters for my Imperial users out there. This old-ass museum turns police station being ableist to this morbidly tall individual. Time to sue. The murders and mental anguish, that's just a normal day in America. Not being cleared for tall people? Now that is too far, bro. Mr. X's appearance doesn't seem that threatening at first glance. Sure, he is this buff-ass dude, but he is stiff as hell, just power walking like he is Dr. Livesey. His method of movement is simple, just power walking at you at a brisk but slow pace, which may be easy enough to avoid, but if he does get close enough, that's where he'll send you to meet whatever god you pray to, as a haymaker that would put Mike Tyson on his ass comes in at literal breakneck speeds that in-game sends Leon or Claire flying backwards, and if it wasn't for their plot armor, would have just sent their heads rolling across the floor, the last thing they see being this 8-foot freak punching them to an early grave. If by some miracle, and it would take a huge one, you were able to take the tyrant down with explosives and other weapons and ammunition, probably spending all of it to do so, well, congratulations. Your prize for killing this genetic super mutant is another new mutation, even stronger than before. While originally he was just a big ass motherfucker walking you down endlessly, well now he is a hulking biomass of destruction, with him mutating to reveal not his absolutely shredded body, but bro spends all day in the gym between Umbrella missions, but also growing a new arm, almost resembling a licker's, if that licker had taken a lethal concoction of testosterone and steroid before having a spank session more intense than a Chargers from Left 4 Dead. However, one drawback of this new form is the fact he has a clear weak spot on his chest, with this massive heart being exposed, which has to be the most video gamey weak spot of all time. So as long as you've got a gun big enough, like, oh, I don't know, the Grim Reaper from Black Ops, you should be fine. If not, good luck. A lot of us are not going to have military-grade rocket launchers, so once again, you or armed personnel around you trying to kill a threat just amplifies how screwed you are. Besides the bads and normal Zads, Zeds, gotta note man's best friend being man's second worst enemy at this point. The cops of Raccoon City had a veritable dog pound in the basement for K9 unit purposes. Sadly, the T-virus does not discriminate, but thankfully the dogs of RE2 don't do that terrifying split head thing from the live action films. In fact, our K9 zombies are probably the least dangerous enemy type in the game, only needing about 3 to 4 shots to take down, and once down they do not get back up, so as long as you don't get surrounded by them, you should be fine. These are basically rabies dogs, or, the infected dogs from I Am Legend. Plus, if you just don't have it in your heart to kill a dog, they're just going to turn you into lunch. In the hull of the RPD, well, there roam the G creatures, primarily more so G adults. Other forms do exist, but I wasn't planning on covering these enemy types from the later parts of the game, like the sewers or the Nest Laboratory, since today's scenario is location specific within the Raccoon City Police Department. I was going to overlook the G adults and even the Ivies, as I thought they wouldn't be able to make it into the RPD. However, considering G adults can send out little larvae that could possibly make their way through the sewers and up the pipes, probably get up your ass through the toilet of the RPD, if that was to happen, just how screwed are you? Well, let's start by looking at the larva born from, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Dr. Birkin. And I don't mean grown in a lab by him, I mean literally going full male seahorse and giving birth to them through his rapid transformation after injecting himself with the G virus. Being tadpole-like in appearance with 2 arms and legs and a tail similar to a late-stage tadpole but as big as the Pokemon Poliwag, the larva aggressively will look for hosts so they can develop into an adult. To achieve this, Birkin had even been shown to force a G larva down the throat of Chief Irons himself. The parasitic-looking beast quickly grew within his its body and exploded from his torso like a chest burster, killing him instantly in the process. If this happens, it means the G larva has rejected the body, the DNA, and frame of the host, and then will begin a metamorphosis into a G adult, stimulating massive production of growth hormones, possibly taken from the host body they just came out of, to rapidly mature in just a few seconds. Once developed, this larva will grow humanoid hands and feet with giant tumors across its back, being its vital weak spots. With horrific and rather phallic-looking heads, it may move slowly in water but can rapidly increase in speed. Now, if you are grabbed by this beast, then will it split its head open vertically, revealing an elongated feeding proboscis that will latch onto the player's face before force-feeding them its infected bodily fluid, which would cause a G larva to grow within you, either completely taking over your body or exploding from your chest like earlier Alien style. Either way, you are going to be biofuel for other zombies to transform afterwards, or your body will be suitable to be repurposed. These fast-moving giant abominations are either going to outright kill you or force this sperm-like beast to go down your throat, impregnate you, and burst out or transform you. It is a horrific chain of events. Now, we have finally made it to the big bad of the RPD and the whole reason the Raccoon City incident happened in the first place. Dr. William Birkin himself. Acting as a huge roadblock for a lot of key places throughout the game, the Blight, Dr. Birkin, would be your biggest detriment to survival, possibly moving into the station via the Medallion tunnel to cause further havoc. Even in his weakest, still semi-lucid state, the G-virus within him would be in its beginning stages, warping his mind and making him extremely aggressive towards any single living thing, dead or alive. The only exception being his daughter, Sherry Birkin, who he does save within the Raccoon City orphanage from her kidnapper, Chief Irons, infecting him and allowing Sherry to escape temporarily before Claire Redfield shows up to rescue her. Taking a quick look at what the game calls G Stage 1, we can see that the virus is protruding from the right side of his body, like something else entirely has attempted to take over his frame from his shoulder, but that is definitely not the case. Growing a huge tumor of both bone and flesh, it's understandable why he spends most of his time in this form begging for help and for it to stop. The amount of pain he is experiencing is warping everything about him. His legs remain mostly unchanged, somehow able to support the new mass that is growing, half of his face starting to fuse with the rest of him, and his torso is completely unrecognizable with ribs protruding from the flesh remaining on his chest. If damaged enough, he will mutate even further on his right side, growing a giant eye from his shoulder tumor with some bone and muscle around the eye, forming a basic defense against whatever might try to harm him. When, in this new form, Birkin, or what's left of him, becomes animal-like in his aggression, like a lioness protecting her young. Waving around his pipe club, he has most likely pulled out of a random wall while stumbling through the sewers, able to break pipes clean in half with just a swipe of his now massive arm. He is extremely strong, extremely fast, and can pulverize you without even thinking of it. Definitely not something you'd want finding you in the tight halls of the RPD, because who knows, with his enhanced strength, maybe he will be able to bash straight through walls, or put you through them instead. There are plenty more threats roaming in, out, and around Raccoon City that could easily break in any time to catch and or corner you within the confined and frankly labyrinthian systems of this key-needed nightmare building. With everything mentioned, it's hard to say that you would survive even short term, caught in the maze with you needing every single thing and item to be frankly handed to you, or else just being stuck and waiting to be devoured, dismembered, or dying or starving as you wait for rescue that will never come. Having these super biological weapons hunting you down, it's not going to work. Drinking water anywhere from here will result in your infection, and eventually this whole place gets nuked anyway, so surviving long term just means you'll be blown up. You are not plot armored and will most likely just be a zombie that'll eventually mutate into a liquor, your mind long gone and your body eventually being vaporized. Also, a company with horrific intentions can boost their profit margins and slowly take over the world, making the RPD your tomb that you never had any chance of escaping. That about wraps up this redive into Resident Evil, containing the viral outbreak and instead of bringing the virus to our world, putting you into one of the most iconic locations in not only Biohazard, but in the zombie genre as a whole. How do you think you would fare? Let me know down below. Is there something I missed or should have explained more? Let me know down below again what you want to see next. Make sure to support the channel by contributing to me on Patreon as a patron or becoming a YouTube channel member or chipping in a buck or two over on my second channel, WSG Streams, during my weekly live streams of Left 4 Dead 2 where we play with friends and fans. You can be on this list right here. Until next time, I'm Zach Cass, aka Wow Such Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, stay sane, and most importantly, stay wow.